Hello, you beautiful human beings. Step into your slippers, pour yourself some champers. Let's have a good look at this. This is one of my favourite creators. So I'm going to warn you and be honest, I am going to be hyper critical. Because there's something that I've seen with this creator that sometimes sneaks into his creations. And I can relate to it. I know what it's like. You've written the perfect paragraph, the perfect page, the perfect chapter, or as close to perfect as you can make it. But you have to go back and just start tinkering a little bit because you're determined to make it even better, and you keep adding and you keep adding and tinkering and tinkering. And eventually you just overpower the story. You just add that little bit too much in. But you love it so much. You're in love with your piece of work. You just can't go back and delete the pieces you've added in because you're convinced you put a lot of work into those lovely little touches you added. And you will refuse to remove them. This is a perfect example of why I think this creator just needs to stop sometimes. Just stop and not tinker. To be confident with the first vision and to build with the first vision rather than trying to achieve something beyond it after the case. Now it might be that this is the vision, in which case I wish I'd been there in the beginning and watched the process, because I would have said don't put that in. Because look at this. I've spent a whole lot of time explaining something that's a little bit enigmatic at the moment because you're not sure what I'm talking about. Hope it will become clear as I go through this video. And in no way is this meant to upset anyone. I don't think it would upset Spartan, so therefore I don't think it should upset anyone else that I'm being critical of my friend Mr. Spartan, who is one of my favourite creators of all time. It's because he's one of my favourite creators of all time that I feel I can say these things. But look and digest this cohesiveness. Look how this is all sewn together with perfection. This is wonderful. This is moody. The lighting is perfect. The building structures fit together. As we move through it, I'll point a few things out. Where I think he's not been able to stop himself. He's just gone that little bit too far. He's tinkered with the paragraph just a tad too much. The one little section just around this corner, I love it. I love this section. But first, I will get the key that's required. You feel like you're walking through an environment. You always do with Master Span. We'll go in here and we'll grab the key. Some nice and interesting imagery there with some lovely use of the spotlight. I love shadows. Shadows are overlooked. They add so much texture. Look at that texture there. Look how that just picks that up, highlighting some of the headstones. So here we go. This particular part here, I love that as well. The lighting from those. This fence, I'm assuming, yes it is. But this bit here, There's just something about this that feels right. I love this. It reminds me a hell of a lot of a Dark Souls game. It's got that moodiness, but there's also a warmth because of the colour he's picked. We go through the gate. We walk. Nice use of bloom. Not overdone, just enough. You get the feeling it's brisk, but not overly cold. It's just a heartening sort of coldness. The one that would wake you up in the morning, you know? But not be too uncomfortable. Just right. There's the use of that light again. Wonderful. Wonderful use of light. Now I wonder if this is part of the psychology. Right, he's introduced lighting to create texture. And I'm wondering if he's decided, he's thought, well, I don't want a window there, so I'll make the light a prominent feature and therefore justify the shadows. I'm wondering if that has led him astray throughout this entire creation. Because right now, you're all thinking, what are you talking about, Gribble? That looks fantastic. And I absolutely 100% agree. Look at that. Isn't that great? Look at that. That's a screenshot. That's a photo. Now we just start, you just maybe see what I mean. Now, not yet, but you will see later what I mean. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But that's a little bit bright. It's shouting to me. It's saying this is not important. Look at me. Look at me. Lens flare could be part of the problem. Maybe reduce that lens flare and take the glow down a tad so that it doesn't overpower the scene too much. I know that may well be the intention, but look at this. Look how much better this looks. I love this little sneaky light under here as well. I would be brave enough to remove some of those. That almost works, or that does work, apart from that light there, because that light is now buried, and the shading and the textures, that undertone of green and brown, are more prominent than the single light. Now we'll go through here. And again with the lighting, I absolutely adore that. Look at that. Look at that lighting. It's a little bit, I would really consider being brave and either putting a window in there or just saying, no, there's a light there, accept it. Because they do look, the trouble with round is it puts you in light of a light bulb. It's almost as if you've put the lighting in and forgotten to turn the asset off that's creating the light. But like I said, look, I'm being hypercritical because I love Spartan, one of my favourite creators, and this is magnificent. I'm looking at it with a critical eye. When I first walked around this, I loved it, but there was just something, and I'm inspecting and analysing that something, at least what I think that something is. Look at this. Isn't that just splendid? I would like to see these put shorter. I don't know why. I would like to feel as if that edge was of some danger, or just make me a little bit, you know, it just make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know what it is, but I would make those a little shorter. They fit in perfectly with that, though. So, yeah. And it works from this side. So perhaps not. Perhaps not. You got the scenery out there. Always a good idea to extend what you're doing here out there, even if out there isn't, you know, available to play. Just makes the whole world feel more real and alive. Again with the lighting. I love this. I just love it. Then we move on to the next section. Now, these are extremely bright, as is that down there. So this is coherent. Does not get overpowered by those. Those sit in this scene comfortably. And our focus is where it should be. But as we get out here, this is where I think that drive to want to improve the paragraph has just driven him a little too far. Now, that's not too bad. That is fantastic, in fact. I would still turn the luminescence of this down and turn that lens flare off. I think that's part of the problem, the lens flare. And the moon I would push further back, a lot further back, because you've got, you know, what am I supposed, what is that, is that a moon or is that another globe? I would suggest that's a moon because we've got the sound of crickets. But look at the coherence in that image. Look at that now. Let's just take that down. Look at the coherence. That's not a screenshot. This is the best way I can describe it. That's not a screenshot. That is. That light there that bleeds over the edge is good because when you come up here, look at that. Now that's a screenshot. That's a screenshot. But I want to point something out. That would be a screenshot. But that ball, and particularly this is screaming out to be looked at. Look at me, it's saying. It's, oh, that's just got that. I would really reconsider that, Spartan. That's just overpowering the image. Without that, this would be changed dramatically. It would feel more coherent. It's almost, it reminds me of No Man's Sky. As if it's just been arbitrarily put there. Drags away. As does the lines of that tentacle-like thing. I would really consider getting rid of that. getting rid of those tentacles in the background, toning down the lens flare, and toning down the brightness, unless you pick a particular colour, maybe a little bit more, maybe a tad bit greener in that, just a little bit of green. But yeah, this is beautiful. That just drags me straight out. But look at that as an image. Look how it feels cohesive. It's just too much, man. It's just too much. As you would say in the writing fraternity, murder your children. Don't be afraid to murder your children. You fall in love. Look at that for an image. Almost. But lighting. Now, it took me a while for this to kick in. Aha. I would give that some consideration, Spartan. It's rather like with your first creation, when I said about how you added those vines in, and it just overpowered it. Now, I haven't spent any time to try to analyse what this story is, or what any of this means. But this is still an 8 out of 10 creation. It's still up there. I like that change of music just there. It's almost a little too bright for this location, but that is why I like it. One would expect a somber piece of music. Well, that's bright with maybe an edge of melancholy. That works just perfectly. I haven't looked if we can get down these parts. No, I don't want to take the risk in case I fall through. I love the vaulted ceilings. Sense of scale that Spartan gets in his creations. Again with the lighting and the shadows. Look how it adds texture to that. It's not lit straight on. It's deliberately letting the light bounce and do its work. Lift on this pillar here, look. Look how the light's doing extra work, some extra lifting just here. It's wonderful work. I love the sense of buildings. When buildings are like that, leaning in to the image, mentors or oppressors. Very religious. The bishop's hat. Wonderful work. Wonderful work, Spartan. I do hope you don't mind me being critical. These are the things I often think when I'm going through creations, but I don't say it all. But I decided, going forward, this is what I'm going to do. And I hope you don't mind. I love your work, I love you, and I love this community. But I have to be honest. And all that's left for me to say then is, fare thee well, toodle pip, au revoir, and all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed this video, folks. Maybe I'll see you on the next one. Bye.